VIBErations podcast, episode 56, Aidyn Fitzpatrick. Recorded Saturday the 24th of January 2026. Hi, I'm Gary Brightman, and this is my periodic podcast called VIBErations. Established in 2018, Vibe is a book and music shop situated in Moi Wo on Lantau Island in Hong Kong. This is the first podcast of 2026, and I've got some great personalities lined up for you this year already. As you may know from previous podcasts, to keep Vibe Book and Music Shop running following 8 years of negative annual results, I'm now in a partnership with Stephen Walsh and Paul Onslow. Our goal this year is to run at least flat as a minimum, to enable us to keep providing a book and music shop on Lantau Island in Hong Kong. We decided to make January a giving back to the community month. So far we've hosted 80 students in one day from the Chinese International School. We collect money for 4 charities: South Lantau Buffalo Society, Team for Animals in Lantau South, Dog and Cat Rescue, Birthday Happiness Asia, to provide support for underprivileged children in Hong Kong, and finally Action Asia Foundation, recently supported by Joe Lodder's 30,000 kilometre run from the Great Wall of China to Hong Kong. In fact, our first event of the year is to host Birthday Happiness Asia at Vibe this Saturday, the 31st of January at 2:30 p.m. We'll be listening to an overview of the great services they have provided over the past 5 years. I'd like to thank our 8 volunteers who kindly give up their precious time to keep Vibe running for 6 days a week without reward. Big thanks go to Elaine, Susan, Charlie, Sam, Carrie, Elsie, Mana and Lou. All our Tiny Desk gigs, podcast interviews and mini-series can be seen and heard on our YouTube channel, Live at Vibe HK. So, for this week's podcast, my interview is with Aidyn. Aidyn Fitzpatrick was born in Hong Kong of biracial parentage. She was educated locally and at Christ Church, Oxford, graduating with a first in modern history. After stints as a kitchen porter, theatre director, underground dance party promoter, concert producer and copywriter, Aidyn embarked on a career at Time magazine and remained there until 2022 as its Asia managing editor. Her writings have appeared in Wallpaper, Elle and numerous other publications. Her photography has been featured in CNN, while her poetry has been anthologized in several collections. She is the managing editor of Macao News, lives on Lantau Island with her wife and daughter, and was the lead guitarist in China's first punk band. Welcome to Vibe, Aidyn.
Thank you.
And as we do, we're going to start off with 10 questions. First question is, do you have a favourite book or author?
I have so many, but the author I'm currently quite obsessed with is Julian McLaren Ross.
Okay, all right, don't know.
He was how would you describe him? A Soho flaneur, I think is the word.
Okay,
very active in London from like between I think he died in like 1960 or something like that.
Okay.
It's everything you want in a writer, kind of pretentious, arrogant, very mannered. And I don't think he ever realised his full potential. There's one great novel that he wrote called Of Love and Hunger. And it's about his experiences trying to live as a commission-only vacuum cleaner salesman in Brighton in the 30s.
Love it.
But for the rest of his corpus is mostly memoir and short fiction, and he's done. They're collected together by Paul Willits in a volume called Memoirs of the 40s, and it's just superb. I mean, he really gets into he kind of lived he lived the seediness. I mean, he was an amphetamine user, he was an alcoholic, he inhabited the bars of Fitzrovia, just in sort of the post-war period. He was always on his kind of like he always had his Malacca cane and his white coat. He was a real dandy, you know.
It sounds really interesting.
Yeah.
It sounds the sort of thing I would read. Actually,
I think you would love McLaren Ross, and what's so fascinating as well is, I mean, I don't know if it sounds naive to say, but like so much of what we think of the 1940s and the Great Generation is heroic. It's you know, this generation that came through the war, and you sort of imagine everybody as being kind of like a mustachioed RAF officer and through the Blitz, but of course everything is so much more nuanced. And there were people at that time who were, guess what, they were just like us. And you know, there were bohemian people, and there were people on the edge, and there was a kind of a demi-monde. And McLaren Ross is to me is the epitome of that scene in Fitzrovia, in London in the 40s, and I love his work. There's not much of it. There's only about 2 or 3 volumes of it.
I'm going to look it up now. I used to work near Fitzrovia, actually, so kind of that sort of I can identify with that a little bit, and I love the history of
he's the Fitzrovia habitué, like definitely.
Musical artists, where do we begin?
There's so much. When I listen to a lot of contemporary stuff. In fact, my current flex is that Spotify Wrapped last year guessed my listening age is 21. Which came as a huge
badge
relief.
of honor.
Came as a huge relief because, as you know, like once you stop, you well know, once you stop engaging with the culture around you, it's the beginning of the end.
Yes.
So I'll listen to everything from Fake Mink to Slow Tie to Arlo Parks. I sing Gracie Abrams in the shower. But if I think of bands that are really hardwired into my soul, number one's definitely Wolf Alice. I can go for an 8-hour walk and play every Wolf Alice album back to back, and just be marinated in Wolf Alice. I guess number 2 would be.
Did you see them playing Clockenflap a few years ago?
No.
A couple of years ago, I think they were here.
Don't even tell me they were there.
I'm
sort of dying inside. Like, what are you talking about?
Reverse out of that then. Okay, I didn't say that.
I'm now like struggling to cope with the
rest of the discussion. I'm sorry.
Okay, I'm having a major cognitive dissonance moment here. Number 2 would be Yumi Zuma. Such an exquisite band. I don't think they've got the acclaim they deserve.
No, they've always sort of been on the edge sort of thing, haven't they? Really, which is often a good reason for liking a band. I think. Okay, all right. So that covers a good wide range of musicians and artists. What about films?
Films, I'm not really a film person. But I definitely have a favorite genre, which is I like 2 genres. One is UK noir from the 40s to the 60s, like sort of like a really good black and white, like high contrast Pinewood Studios crime thriller, which is totally my jam. Like I just get into that stuff. Another one is what you might call cheap television, like ephemeral film, like stuff that's not actually made to last. Like I'm thinking of industrial safety films of the 1970s, or you know, like employee training videos from 1991, or like all that kind of time capsule shit that surfaces on YouTube that you can just take you down a YouTube hole. I love that stuff, but I don't love like film, capital F per se, you know. I'm not like a cineast or anything like that. I'm much more a sort of a books person.
Yeah, that's interesting. That kind of reminds me, I spend my life drilling back to the 1970s, and you do come across some of those public safety films. And I get it, actually.
Do you know what I mean? Like,
I do. I kind of
like,
I like that sort of. Yeah, I hadn't thought of it as a. I mean, it's a genre, and it's itself, isn't it?
And it, you know, and like God bless the people who preserve that on YouTube, because it makes it so accessible.
It does, doesn't it? And it takes you right back there, doesn't it? For sure. Whatever it is, crossing the road or whatever. And, okay, all right. Preferred drink or drinks? Everything here is kind of plural.
Preferred drink. If it's wintertime, Hong Kong Lantau with 2 sugars. If it's summertime, a very strong, very sweet, very cold, very lemony iced lemon tea.
Nice. Okay.
Those are my go-tos.
Well, refreshing. Very good.
I mean, I got. If you're asking what's my favorite drink, I got sober 9 years ago. So.
Nice one.
But when I did drink,
it
was a vodka martini.
Well, that's at the sharp end.
I haven't had one of those for a long time for good reason.
Do you have any sort of motto? Most people, I think, don't have a motto until you ask them if they have a motto, and then they think about it, and then they come up with something.
No, I don't. I mean, I think life. I mean, I don't know. What am I supposed to say? It's like make a difference. Do your best. I mean, life is just such a huge immensity. I can't boil it down to
one succinct
a motto
thing. No, that's fair.
And maybe that's my motto. That's kind of messy to say.
Well, that would work. Let's use that. Yeah. Okay. Hong Kong restaurant. Do you go out much?
Definitely Yihin, which is the restaurant just opposite here. At the Mui Wo Cook Food Centre. So everyone goes to the one at the front that's nearest the ferry. But if you keep going towards the very last one.
Okay, I know it.
To me, that place is like a kind of, it's like a Marcel Proustian perfect representation of every outdoor Hong Kong Islands restaurant meal you've ever had taken to the apex level. It's just one old guy in there with an incredibly seasoned wok. And the stuff that I love everything. I love the orange plastic chopsticks. I love the fly blown tables. I love the grotty menu. But when they bring out that the scrambled egg and bitter melon and the salt and pepper tofu and the veggie fried rice, that's my soul food. I love Yihin.
I think we're very lucky to have it here. For me, it is the best restaurant in Mui Wo. I love to go there.
I'd rather eat somewhere like that any day than some kind of like fine dining. Same here. Do you know what I mean?
I do. I tend not to go to Yihin. I go to the one in the middle. I've always gone there and sort of seen that family grow up over the years in a way. And I like pigeon, so I go there for pigeon sometimes. I love that. But I'm always a one-trick pony. I always have the same sort of dishes. I'm not very good at stepping outside.
And that's cool. Thing. I mean, they sort of. I think these places they trade on doing a few things really well.
Really well. Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Again, this is another sort of question. Best advice you were given? Do you have something like that?
Be not afraid.
Okay.
That's the phrase that occurs the most times in the Bible.
Okay.
There's always like an angel coming down, like coming from the heavens and going, be not afraid.
That's a good thing to live your life.
Probably that one. Shepherds are always being told that. And flocks are always
I like that. Yeah. Why do you live in Hong Kong?
That's easy to answer. It's because I had such an unimpeachable past life that God rewarded me in this one by saying, "You shall be born in the greatest city in the world."
And I totally agree with you.
So I was born here, but I also choose to live here.
And stay here. You don't stay here.
I've tried living overseas, and it just didn't work. I tried living in Sydney for 4 years. It was awful. I lived in Brighton, which was better actually. I lived in Brighton for 2 years.
Okay. I've got family.
I just love that town.
Yes. I
still miss things about it.
Yes.
But my body feels right in Hong Kong. My heart feels right in Hong Kong. So it's where I am.
I get you. It's weird. I've lived sort of the first 45 years of my life in the UK,
London.
In London, and as soon as I came to Hong Kong, I thought, no, this is where I need to live my life. This is where I straight away got it, and I always wanted to be here after that. And as soon as I moved
totally
here,
belong. You have that vibe. I mean, not everyone has that vibe.
No, I'm proud to say I feel I've got that. So I'm quite envious of girls like you. Do you have a favourite area in that case of Hong Kong?
Hong Kong is my mother.
Yeah.
I love it all, but I suppose if I had to sort of pick one Hong Kong, I'm a bit over the city.
Yeah. So
the Hong Kong I probably really love most is Islands Hong Kong. I'm in my rustic era right now, so I'm a sort of, I've gone a bit outlying islands, bit new territories, and I'm happy to be in that space.
Yeah, me too actually. I don't know whether it's an age group thing, but I'm the same. I'm foremost an outlying islands person, but then like to be sucked into the city some days, sometimes.
I go in them like, no, just do what you need to do and get out. Just get
Yeah,
back.
I tend to store everything up and just do everything in one day, and then don't do it for another 3 weeks.
I like looking at it from afar.
There's
the
exactly.
Skyline, how cool.
Yeah, I can if I want to. Yeah. Okay, so that's the end of the 10 questions. So what we're going to do now is talk about a little bit about your past life. I understand you went to Oxford. You were studying history there. That was for a few years. Why history, and coming out of that, where did that steer you? Where did you feel?
History was because I actually got expelled from school.
Okay, very cool.
And I kind of, I remember my parents were so upset. And I kind of thought, well, I have to try and make it. What can I do to kind of make it up to my parents? And, at that time I was all about sort of, trying to be a sort of good child and do the right thing and all of this kind of stuff. And I got this thing into my head, which was, well, it's, if I go to a quote unquote good university, that'll buy me some time with the folks,
Yeah.
And so I just, that's why I went to this is a roundabout way of explaining why history.
Yeah, okay.
So I'm not really interested. I wasn't really interested in history at all at the time.
No.
But I wanted to maximize my chances of getting into this quote unquote good university.
Yeah.
For purely familial reasons. And my great love was English.
Yeah.
English literature.
Okay.
And I just was not confident of my ability to sit the Oxford Open in English. And so history sort of, with history you've got a sort of bedrock to fact. It's kind of a bit more grounded.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? So I thought, well, I'll sit the Open in history.
Yeah.
And then I surprised myself most of all by passing it, and then when it came, but I took a gap year, and when it came to go, I didn't really want to go, because in my gap year I got a job. I got an awesome job here. I was working for sort of like a fashion PR company.
Wow. Yeah.
And I was, I was 18. I was making what I thought was a huge sum of money, which was 4,000 Hong Kong dollars a month.
Yeah.
But when you're 18, you have no rent to pay, and all you need is money to go to Lantau with. It was it was fine. I had a girlfriend, I had clothes. I was just like, I don't want to go to uni.
Yeah.
But my dad, he was a ferocious Irish policeman person.
Right.
Gave me a kick up the backside and sent me there, and so I did. I didn't really do any history. I smoked a lot of dope. I watched a lot of puzzling French movies. I didn't really do any history until my last year, when I realized, shit, I've got finals, I've got to pass, and so I spent like the last year just cramming 3 years of work into sort of 1 year. Somehow I got a degree, and then what did it lead to? It didn't lead to anything. I mean, it was the first job I did after leaving uni. I was a kitchen porter in a Chinese restaurant. But
that you've got to start
do you
somewhere.
know what I mean? I didn't a lot of my peers did go into the city and do all that kind of shit. I just couldn't. I wanted to come home, and so I ended up trying to raise the plane fare by working in a. They used to say, customer would go, oh, your English is really good. Where'd you learn your English? And I go, Oxford, actually.
Yeah, I love it.
So it didn't lead to anything.
Okay.
It led to a job in the kitchen in Birmingham, England. That's where it led to.
But then you were kind of keen to get back home, as you say, as you call it, back to Hong Kong. When you got back here, we're sort of in the 1980s now,
Yeah, we are. Yeah. Yes,
early 80s.
So I am, to give my age away, I am class of 87.
Right, okay.
Yeah. So that's when I came back immediately with my then wife, with a 3-month-old baby.
Right.
I'm the only person in my year it's my elder daughter. I'm the only person in my year who had their child at their graduation.
So you come back to Hong Kong. You're struggling to find work, I guess, in the early 80s, or what you want to do, sort of.
Yeah, I had no idea what I wanted to do, and so I ended up doing kind of different things, but like Hong Kong at that time was was still the kind of place where you could get a job because your mum played mahjong with someone else's mum.
Yes.
You know, and
Yes.
there's a British designer called Terence Conran.
Yeah.
So Terence Conran had set up at the Asian headquarters of his design consultancy in Hong Kong.
Okay.
And the director of that place played mahjong. His mum played mahjong with my mum, and my mum was like, "Oh well, you know, Aidyn needs a job, and
Yes.
you know, how about, you know?" And
Yeah.
then the other mum was like, "Oh well, my son will give Aidyn a job. Don't worry." And so at the age of 22, I was the PR manager for Terence Conran in Asia, and I didn't know what I was doing. I mean, I had no idea at all.
Yeah.
About anything, and when I look back on it now, it's quite weird. I mean, I was given an office, a secretary, you know, like,
unbelievable,
and told to get on with it, and I didn't have a clue.
Didn't know where you were. And I mean, Terence Conran in the 80s was big.
I
mean,
he
I
was.
remember him from London, Marylebone Lane. I think he was on Conran. Conran was into everything, wasn't he? Furnishings and designer.
I mean, no one understood him in Hong Kong. Like, it was such an uphill battle for us because that look that you take for granted now, that like pinewood flooring, Italian downlighting, white furniture, jug of lilies, you know, like that kind of very minimal look was weird in Hong Kong in 1987.
Yeah,
I mean, people wanted people wanted gold. They wanted dragons.
Yeah.
They wanted like fish
red
and fountains and red. And it all looked a bit kind of, that all white look looked a bit sinister to them.
Yes.
So it was kind of ahead of its time. It was ahead of its time.
Yes.
But our studio was in Lantau Island. It was on the first floor above California.
Okay.
So it was just the
place to be.
The place to be.
Yeah.
And you could, the girls from California would bring up cocktails in the mid-afternoon and serve them around the studio.
Fantastic.
So I had a great time, but I just I don't know how I don't know how I got through.
How you existed there?
No, I didn't. Yeah. I didn't, and but so that was kind of like daytime, and then nighttime I was running nightclubs, with like one-nighters. You know?
Okay.
Because at that time, no one in Hong Kong was doing it.
Yeah.
And you know, and nightlife was very, you know, they were
still evolving a bit, wasn't it? Really,
well, you know what? They were like discos.
Yes,
that's what they were.
Yeah.
And you would go to a disco, and a guy with white gloves would show you to a table that had a flower on it, and you would have a sort of a long tall. Do you know what I mean? Like there was not a sweaty club. You got into it, and because I'd been enjoying those while I was at uni, and I just thought, oh my God, no one's doing it.
No one's picked up on it.
And so with a friend of mine who had a similar experience, we started doing one-nighters around town. So I had this kind of parallel life. I was like, you know,
very cool.
It all sounds quite glam now, doesn't it?
It really does.
PR manager for Terence Conran by day, nightclub promoter by night. You know, but it didn't feel that way at the time. It felt like quite improvised.
Random.
I felt really seat of the pants.
What we're going to do now.
Yeah.
Where we're going to get some money from.
Yeah.
Okay. So, and you set up China's first punk band.
Oh, yes.
Was that around that time?
No, that was when I was in school. That was when I was in school.
Okay.
So I was...
So how did that work, and what did you do? What was your part in that?
Yeah, good question. I'd always been into music, and I started teaching myself guitar from about the age of 13, 14, and I was in kind of like really awful high school cover bands.
Yeah.
You know, like those kind of like just like those sort of bands that play endless versions of Smoke on the Water, and, you know, like Knocking on Heaven's Door or whatever the hell it was.
Yeah.
You know, and we would do these like dreadful gigs at the YMCA, you know, playing Status Quo covers and this kind of thing. And it was like the time was ripe for a sort of a change, and punk was not a natural fit for me. Punk is not a natural fit for Hong Kong. I mean, punk makes total sense if you're Mick Jones and you're growing up in a council flat overlooking the Westway. Punk makes total sense.
Yes. Right,
and in Hong Kong, like, I mean, I'd grown up. I'd grown up listening to jazz fusion.
Yeah,
Okay, because, and the reason why, which sounds quite random, but when I started buying records, like I was about 11, 12, right? When I started buying records, because that's what you could buy then. The shop that I would go and buy them in, I now know, looking back and remembering the selection, I now know to be a jazz fusion specialist shop.
Right.
But at the time, I thought this was just
the music that you bought.
This was just a music shop. This was music. Music was Weather Report.
This is a whole range.
Music was, George Benson. Music was Al Jarreau. Music was this was music, and I didn't really have a conception beyond like Chick Corea records or like Keith Jarrett records. I didn't really have a conception beyond music, so I was this quite weird 11-year-old, like listening to quite brainiac stuff, thinking this was normal.
Quite complex.
But there's something about it, I think, that's like something about that tastiness and that virtuosity of jazz fusion. There's something about that is quite Hong Kong.
Okay.
So I kind of really related to it, and then the punk thing for me was always an affectation. It was like it wasn't something that came from the wellspring of my soul, but it was because I wanted to look a certain way. It was a way of wearing cut up clothes, and it was a way of wearing eyeliner. It was a way of like just looking a bit different. So for me, it was all about, like, you have to understand the paradigm of it was very colonial. So like, Hong Kong existed in a colonial framework, and obviously within that framework it could be quite nuanced, but like basically the bedrock framework was colonial. By that I mean London is the metropolitan centre. Hong Kong is the outlying place. And the culture emanates from the metropolitan centre. And so there wasn't like, it's not as though, I mean, I'm biracial, I'm half white, half Chinese. It wasn't as though I could take refuge like in 1981, in 1982 in a Chinese culture, because China had not opened up. I mean, China was a big black line drawn at the Kowloon Hills that you did not look beyond. And Hong Kong was like an enclave. It was like a kind of West Berlin. And so, so the culture, the pop culture that I could explore, adopt, whatever, was English. And somehow, I don't know how we kind of latched. I always think that we were kind of like, because this is all pre-internet age, it's all pre-digital. So the only way of knowing what's happening at the center, by the time it gets transmitted to you, it's like sending a message to Mars.
There's a delay.
There's a delay of like 4 years.
And
so by the time we like, it was 1981, like, we were like, oh, there is such a thing as punk. Oh, and there are bands called The Clash, and there are bands called the Sex Pistols. How interesting. But it all kind of happened and died a death, sort of back at the
in the mothership or whatever.
The mothership. By the time we took it up, and I think I certainly could only take it up in a way that was. Look, at the time, I wouldn't have said, "Oh, I'm parodying punk." But looking back, I was a kid parodying punk. I was trying to act like what I thought, what my conception of a punk was, and I didn't really have the tools to do it. And like, you couldn't buy punk clothes. We did not have your King's Road. Do you know what I mean? You couldn't even go into a top shop and buy a pair of like weekend bondage pants. There was none of that. So we had to make our own. And so I used to get my domestic helper Lourdes to sew zips on my Giordano jeans.
Giordano. That's it.
And we used to buy like nice T-shirts from like nice shops, and like carefully cut them, and so we looked like such like cosplay. We must look quite adorable. We were just 16 and 17 years old. But because nothing, and I found this out later when I was doing my clubs, because nothing was happening in Hong Kong at that time, we were a sensation. It just, because we were just the only game in town. I mean, like if every other band is like a sort of an awful cover band, and you decide you're going to be
it's not hard to.
You're going to be a punk band, and you're going to, write vaguely political lyrics and you're gonna wear like bondage pants made by your domestic helper, then you know people want to write about you.
Yes. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, you're different. You're suddenly
so like,
you the new.
So people started writing about us, and we started like playing shows, and, which were always disastrous, and then we became quite notorious because we couldn't really get gigs, and so we would take over restaurants,
right?
On the pretense of holding a party.
Okay.
We're having a private party.
Yes.
And we would book a Malaysian restaurant to have a private party in, and we would arrive and set up and start charging people ticket, and the staff would have no idea what we'd done. It was like a kind of, we would ambush, it would be an ambush gig, basically.
That's interesting.
And then we would play, and the staff would be freaking out because there would be hundreds of pissed expat kids just like, pogoing around some Malaysian restaurant in Kennedy Town.
That's hilarious.
And the staff with there's a really great Cantonese word, it's baling balam, and it's an onomatopoeic Piic word, and it means too much noise.
Yeah.
And the staff would be like, too much baling balam, like, can we try to unplug us and stuff? I mean, we were doing one of these gigs when TVB Pearl came to film.
Yeah.
And TVB Pearl were doing a story on underage drinking in Hong Kong, and they chose one of our gigs as a sort of as the kind of the place where it happened. So we became notorious overnight because of that show.
Yeah.
And I think we took it as far as we could. I mean, we got to the stage where there was talk of management interest, and we were. I remember someone trying to get us to support Susie and the Banshees when they played in Hong Kong.
That would have been a bit
special,
wouldn't it?
Intimidating. Really, I didn't feel worthy.
No,
I was actually really relieved when
knowing your limits, isn't it?
Well, we broke up before that happened, and but because of A levels, and we were all just such middle class kids, but that's kind of as far as we went. But
didn't you get on the stage with the Clash or something at some point? How did that come about? That was early 80s, wasn't it?
That was. No, the Clash came to Hong Kong in sometime in 1982, and we were still, the band was still going then, our band was still going then. And we went to we started phoning the hotels in town, asking. I think we asked for Joe Strummer by his real name, John Mellor.
Yes, John Mellor.
And again, there was like in these pre-data days, these pre-data security days, the receptionist would be like, "Yes, there's a John Mellor here." And we're like, "Oh, okay, it's the Hyatt Regency."
Boom.
And so we staked out the lobby of the Hyatt Regency, and sure enough, that is where they were staying. And
wow.
And they sort of. We went there just before the gig, and they all came down one by one to talk to us. It was amazing. They were just such
down to earth sort of
completely,
guys,
and sort of word had spread among their entourage that there's a group of kids in the lobby, kind of like
asking for you.
They're asking for you, and they, so. Mick Jones came down, said hello, and then their road manager, who went by the name Cosmo Vinyl. He came and took us all to the bar. Brilliant. And then Bernie Rhodes came down, stood us all drinks, and then the great man Joe Strummer arrived. Paul Simon came down, Top Hidden. They were just all there talking to us, and then they they were like they were recording combat rock.
Yes, it would have been
that era.
Yeah.
And I remember Joe said to us, like, "Oh, we're recording a new album. Do you have any suggestions as to what it might be called?" And my friend BJ said, "How about Passive Resistance?" And you could see Joe's mind.
Yeah.
And then when it came out, it was called Combat Rock.
Yes.
We sort of thought, is there a
There's a link there.
Even if it's a very faint tendril, is there something there?
Did you plant the seed?
Did he plant the seed? Because you could see his mind growing.
Yeah.
And so they went off to sound check, and then we waited till showtime, and we all made sure we were right at the front. And they played, I think, at least 2 hours.
Really?
At least 2 hours, and by the end, they were taking requests.
What?
No, they were saying to us that it was the AC Hall, so it's quite a small, intimate venue. They were like saying, "What song do you want to hear?" Because I think they knew they wouldn't be playing somewhere like Hong Kong all the time, you know. So it was just the most amazing show. They really indulged us.
I mean, those guys are my heroes, as you and I have spoken about in the past. I mean, that for me, you know, right there. Yeah.
So I was right at the front. I was right at the front by Mick Jones and his microphone.
That's fabulous.
And so there was a stage invasion. So I just got on the stage and I just stood at his mic. I stood at his microphone, sang "London's Burning" with him.
Oh God!
And then afterward, we
just shoot me after that. Yeah. That's it. Yeah.
And then afterward, we all went backstage and continued just hanging out, and it was just amazing. And
how cool of them, really.
They were really cool, and they were really like, they teased us in an affectionate way. I remember Joe saying, "We've never seen so many suntan punks before." Like, you know? And it was
so totally not.
It was such a memorable night, you know?
That really is something special. Yeah. Okay, so sort of moving on, you find yourself back in Hong Kong. You work for Terence Conran. What do you do then? Does that then, you know, I'm interested really how you've steered your life, how you've got into these things.
You make it sound like there's some plan there, but
well, I don't know. I mean, there isn't. I know. I can tell just by knowing you that there isn't a plan. That things have evolved, but you've threaded through into quite an interesting area, I think. You know, so
I think the nice thing about Hong Kong at that time, and I think to an extent is still true, is that you can do what you want with a few phone calls. You can basically, like, it's a big city but a small town.
Yes.
And so you can make shit happen if you want. And so I had this sort of checklist of things I wanted to do.
Yeah.
And I sort of did them. You know, and like I wanted to produce music. So, you know, I knew, you know, Anders Nelson at BMG. We went to the same school, so I called him, "Can I produce an album?" Anders said, "Oh, all right, come in, produce an album." Or, I mean, I wanted to like do poetry readings, and you know, I was friends with the people at 97, and I was like, "Can we do poetry readings at your place?" "Yeah, come and do poetry readings." You know, and I always wanted to direct theatre, so I set up a semi-professional theatre group. We did that, and all of this was just done on like a wing and a prayer, and But you could just tick off all these like artistic endeavors quite easily, and you could make a bit of money doing it. You know, I wanted to run. I mean, by the time the whole Acid Thing House was happening, I wanted to run raves.
Right.
Did that. You know. So there was a kind of freedom about it all. You know, I wanted to be like. And by that time, I'd stopped having respectable jobs. You know, I was like a freelance senator. I was like an event producer and doing whatever I had to do to kind of make a crust. You know. So there isn't so far as there's a connecting theme, it was just like I just wanted to try and do a lot of different things. And Hong Kong allowed me to do that.
Hong Kong allowed it,
You know, I wanted to kind of like I wanted to do some writing, so I could do that. And I never sort of, I mean, I'm a journalist now, but I didn't have this plan, which was like, oh, I'm going to be a journalist.
I'm going to follow.
That just sort of happened. You know.
I just find it very, you know. So I come from the days where, you know, you went in. Generally, most of my friends went into factory jobs, and that's where they ended up leaving 35 years later as a foreman or a senior person in that, or went into the forces and what rose through those. Or for me, I ended up falling into, you know, IT and working in banks. And I just, you were sort of in that sort of zone. I didn't have any ambition necessarily, but ambition grabbed me and sucked me along in that career. And once you're in that sort of conveyor belt line, and as you say, and you helped me understand more, Hong Kong, you can, you know, I was surprised when I came here because I was still working at a bank, and but people could totally reinvent themselves even within that environment.
Exactly.
You know, they could come in as, you know, X and go out as Y, and nobody batted an eyelid.
No.
If you showed the ambition for something, you could do it, and people would gift you that, and you were allowed to have a few mess ups, and that seems how you've done your thing.
I think that's really well put,
and
actually.
that's the beauty of Hong Kong, isn't it? Really, it's just most of my friends have been here, you know, either born here or most of their lives, and I just envy their lifestyles, that they have been able to fall into doing this and fall into that. And there also is this, and I learnt that very quickly, that there's one degree of separation in Hong Kong.
Yeah, absolutely.
Where there's 6 in London, there's 1 here. You always know somebody who knows, I know.
I'm genuinely stunned if I meet someone that say they're from Hong Kong and I kind of don't
know. Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
I mean?
yeah.
But I mean, going back to what you're saying, I think, you know, I think this is one of the last places where, or certainly was at that time, where there was the cult of amateurism, and I don't mean that as a derogatory thing.
Yeah,
I mean, you could be a kind of a talented amateur, and you could actually make that happen for you, and you could kind of make money by, you didn't have to be an expert, but you could have a love for something. Yeah, you could have, and I was organising things like, I was organising like Lantau Island street carnivals. I was organising like, music festivals without the faintest clue.
Where to begin?
Where to begin? I knew I was a fan and I wanted to do it, and so you would know someone who, that person does production, this person's in a band, and the next thing you've got a roster of 20 bands, and you've put down $100,000 deposit on some urban council outdoor venue, and you're doing it.
I love that feeling of that sort of freedom that you guys must have had, and that
I think being out of the mainstream really helps. Like if you're going to be in a liminal position, then you might as well milk it. And
you did, and good on you for doing it.
It's like racially, culturally, gender-wise, completely out of the mainstream. That enabled me to kind of look down from 30,000 feet and go, I think I'll do this. I think I'll do that.
So, okay, just changing the subject a little bit. Can we talk about the transgender thing? Is now a good time to do that? So, how did you become transgender? Is it something that you...
Yeah, always. You know what, Gary? Always happy to talk about it. I love that you're asking me, and that this is, like a little platform to talk about it.
Yes.
I'm so happy to answer questions about it. For me, I always, I don't know. I think sometimes people are like, oh God, I knew. I knew. I came into this world and I knew.
Okay.
And for me, it was like, what I knew was that, oh shit, I'm not like the others. I'm not like the others at all. And like I couldn't relate to being a boy. I couldn't relate to being a man. I couldn't relate to being those things. And everything that was in my head was always feminine. Like, I'm speaking with this voice now, but it's not the voice I hear in my head.
No.
You know what I mean?
I do.
So everything was always feminine. But my context was I'm a cradle Catholic. And so Catholicism in Hong Kong, even now, in the 70s and 80s, was not a safe place for
I don't think it was in the West, really.
A genderqueer person, and I wrestle with that now, because I've made the decision to stay in the church.
Yes.
And
okay.
there's a lot of my LGBT fellow Catholics who have we're conscientious remainers. We want to sort of see our gender as a gift that will challenge the church to think of us differently. And the church will say to us, well, God doesn't make mistakes. I'm like, damn right, God doesn't make mistakes. God made me trans.
Yes.
And so she didn't make a mistake.
Yes. I like it. Yes.
So it was not safe for me to explore anything in terms of my church community, and also being like, Catholicism is one of those religions where there's a very, very high stress on, because it's a high control environment, and there's a very high stress on being perfect. So it's a great perfectionist's religion. Right. Because if you go deep into Catholicism, you can be like, there are specific prayers for every hour of the day. Like
right.
you can, it's a very observant religion,
Yeah.
So you get kind of sucked into, oh shit, I want to be a perfect Catholic.
Yeah, okay.
Right, so that's,
yeah.
So even though, but it's sort of, so you
Okay,
try
that's
being a perfect Catholic, even though it's sort of, it gets to a stage that equates to self-harm. And there comes a point in your life when you can start looking beyond that, when you can start seeing faith beyond the absolutes, beyond the binary, beyond kind of good, evil, light, darkness, and you can start thinking for yourself. But I wasn't at that stage as a child, obviously.
No.
And then my social and familial environment was not safe. My father was a ultra macho Irish police officer. Do you know what I mean? My mother was an extremely conventional Cantonese woman, and our social circle was... There's a book by Nigel Collett called Death in Hong Kong. And our social circle is captured perfectly in that book.
Right,
so
I must read it.
Yeah, it's about the death of a gay police inspector called John McClellan. Yeah,
I know. I've got it.
I've seen it here in your shop.
It's there, and I've got it at home to read.
Yeah,
so I know the story.
The first time I read it,
yes,
I know everybody in that book.
Okay, very interesting.
Like all the coppers in that book were to me were like Uncle so and so, Uncle so and so, Uncle so and so. And so
it was a big cover up, wasn't it?
Yeah, and so I grew up like, I mean, when I read that book, I had to have a shower. I had to and then I couldn't actually. It affected me so much I couldn't keep it in my house.
Okay, that's interesting.
Because it was like, look, I don't want to overstate the case here in case there's some retired police officer in the home counties listening to this podcast going, it wasn't like that. But it's like kind of reading that book, it was like growing up and realizing you were raised by Nazis. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Like, oh, Uncle Johann was actually in the SS.
Yes, yeah.
Oh, shit.
Yes, yeah.
It was kind of a bit like that. And so that was my social and familial circle, was very, very macho, very, very dark, I would say. Very much revolving around being a police officer, drinking, being, like, it was all like rugby and San Miguel, basically. Yes. And then my school was the same.
Yes.
My school was like,
Was that KG5?
Yeah. It was like, it was all like sport and jockishness and... Yeah. There wasn't a single...
Total opposite to what you felt you were at that time.
There wasn't a teacher
what you are.
that you could confide in or anything like that. So the whole thing was just... I just buried that whole freaking thing. Like, it was just too hard. At university, away from the dead hand of all of that, I flowered.
Yes, yeah.
But uni was also quite interesting in the sense that, I mean, I went to a college called Christ Church, which...
globally famous.
I mean, it's, look, just to give you the context, it's like 15 viceroys of India went there, 10 British prime ministers. It was the only Oxford college where the patron was actually the Queen. So, it's a very tony, very, very tony kind of place. And like, just to not beat around the bush, it was full of a lot of dickheads, And so, like, I remember going there.
White privilege.
Yeah. I mean, it was like, I remember showing up on my first night, walking to the common room, and the whole common room stopped talking. All turned around and looked at me because we saw the funny side later. They were all in black tie.
Right.
And I was in a blouse from Dorothy Perkins.
Brilliant. With
a silk scarf, a coat from Dorothy Perkins. I had my hair all done, had my blue eyeshadow, had eyeliner, necklaces on. I was looking very, very femme. And just this two worlds looked at each other.
Yeah.
But that said, compared to Hong Kong...
Yes.
I was able to kind of...
You felt you could do that in that environment.
Even though, like, and I think there was eventually, I got accorded a kind of a grudging acceptance.
Yes.
And it was interesting, like, when I came out a few years ago, like, it was my college era friends who were like, well, frankly, we're not surprised.
Yeah.
Like,
Tell us something new.
But like, so that, I had that time of, being quite relaxed about gender expression, and then coming back to Hong Kong, I put it on the back burner again.
Yeah,
I was near my family of origin, partly because how does one go about being trans in Hong Kong? Do you know what I mean? Like,
well,
you know,
I can't
I mean, to this
imagine.
day, I'm the only trans girl on the MTR. You know,
Yeah.
but it was not until much later when the culture war started. I started, you know, you could read the newspaper and there would be, you know, young kids talking about being non-binary.
Yes.
Or genderqueer.
Yes.
And I started seeing these words and I was like, because at the time as well, like, you know, I mean, when I was in college, I didn't walk around thinking I'm trans.
No.
I just thought I'm weird. I'm just weird.
Yeah.
You know, and if people were to describe me, they would be like, oh, you know, they would use words like effeminate or a cross-dresser.
Yeah,
these like really old words.
Yeah,
like,
yes.
You know, so I didn't have this conception of like, I'm non-binary, feminine of center, genderqueer, trans. Like you could just say that now, and it's like, oh yeah, cool.
Yeah, it's almost like a matcha latte.
Yeah. But at the time, like there was no such vocab for my generation, and that you know, when you can't name something, it's very hard to.
Well, I suppose when you know, really, you like I have come from an analog generation of no internet and no information more than really what's around you in your own circles, and then you know, you're back in Hong Kong. It's still pre. Internet. Yeah. And so there's nobody really getting behind anything, and it's probably a risky or dangerous situation. Maybe, although Hong Kong is the safest place on earth, as
well, it was
we
like trying to
always
be
say.
a punk in Hong Kong. It was like no one kind of gets it,
but they don't challenge
it necessarily. Why do you
it
have zips
necessarily.
On your trousers? Why are you wearing
What's
eyeliner?
going on there?
What are you doing?
Yes, yeah. But then along comes the internet, and then suddenly people have got words for things, and people can see different illustrations of things, and then they see, okay. So there are people in Thailand and in London and in Canada and America.
100%.
Yeah, so suddenly...
and that's why I did it, and that's why I thought, you know, if some 19-year-old can stand up and say, I'm genderqueer, I thought, well, I can bloody well do this. So I planted a flag, and I just, you know, I just came out, and one thing I realised is that Hong Kong is actually, Hong Kong's actually a good place to be genderqueer in the sense that we don't have there aren't the same sort of social affirmations of you that you have as a genderqueer person in the West, right? For example, like in those like progressive societies in Europe where people are, you know, can be very inclusive and very tolerant. In Hong Kong, it's very sort of like don't ask, don't tell. Yes. But it really is like I can go out in full femme presentation and no one will bat an eye.
Really? Okay.
Like people will be like, well, you know what? The only people who do tend to be older white guys.
Yeah. Okay.
They're the ones that I get the looks from.
Yeah. That's weird, isn't it?
It's weird, right?
That is like, weird. It's
weird. Like they're the ones, but like
they're probably feeling threatened by it. Whereas everybody else
Asian people, like they're either too busy.
Yes.
Or
they don't want to work it out. Or they don't need to work it out.
They don't need to work it out. They don't, or they just don't want to deal with it. And so, in a way, like, because for example, I've been beaten up in the UK for looking faggy. Right. I've been completely pummeled by Aston Villa fans, like for looking faggy. Horrible. Right. Yeah. But nothing like that's ever happened to me here.
No, and I don't believe it would do. It's just not that society, is it?
So you know, it can be quite. You know, so yes, on the one hand, I don't actually have a community. I don't have. No. There aren't like, you know,
other
fellow transgender sisters that I we get together and we have a sort of little chat or a coffee. I don't. Yeah. But on the other hand, I do feel safe. You know. So.
Yeah. But I mean, I wonder how things go. You know, you go out with your wife and daughter. Do you dress?
Yeah, exactly.
You know, so three women. Right. And how does that work? It's just acceptance there. I hope.
I mean, sometimes I pass.
Yeah.
Which is great. You know, and you know, you do kind of like sometimes I'll be. You know, last time we were in the IFC, we were at a restaurant in the IFC, and I asked the girl like, "Oh, where's the bathroom?" And she physically escorted me to the ladies. Or I remember coming through. I work a lot in Macao. Yes. And I love it when I come back through immigration. They'll look at me, they'll pause and they'll go, "Madam." You know what I mean? Like so sometimes I pass. Yeah, okay. Sometimes I pass. Sometimes I don't pass. Sometimes you know, I'm just like big and kind of transy looking, and do you know what I mean? So it's not a guaranteed thing.
Yeah.
I myself try to negotiate.
Yeah.
Acceptance.
Yes.
Like I don't impose.
You don't impose it.
No,
okay.
because I like because as like what is a feminine virtue? A feminine virtue is patience, tact, diplomacy, non-aggression. Yeah. Right? Yeah. Let's be we can be vulnerable. We can talk about things like why I don't go out there and go to anybody, you must accept me as a woman. If you do, great. If you don't, I don't care. Yeah. You know, you obey the law of your own consciousness, mate. Yeah. Right? Whatever. Yeah. I don't care. Yeah. So that same goes for spaces. Like I'm not gonna, if I get invited into a woman's space, like I'm happy. Yes. I don't force myself onto a woman-only space. Yeah. You know, so like talking about things like bathrooms. Yes. Which is like a weird feeling. I mean, the first time, it's such a weird feeling of being. Like now, my map of Hong Kong is completely redrawn with the location of every single gender-neutral bathroom because, because I don't have to force the issue. Yes, because sometimes, because
and there is a lot in it, you know.
Well, like it's Hong Kong, you know, there's a it's like you know, I don't want to kind of like, I have this absolute horror of going into the ladies and having somebody scream, oh shit, there's a pervert in the ladies dressed in a blonde wig. That would just be like just the most awful thing. Yeah. Like, you know, so often whether or not I do that actually depends on my personal level of courage at that moment, and how much I feel like I am passing, and if I can pull it off. And some days I think, girl, I am pulling it off. I'm going to do this, right? Yeah. And if I'm with Maddie, my wife, my daughter, and they're like, you're coming with us, girl. We're going in, you know. Yes. But it's not always like that, and so I tend to like. So if you want to know the real feeling of being trans, it's like, one is elation. I'm out. I'm trans. I'm dressed as my gender. Oh my God, look, I look beautiful. Yes. And the other feeling is like, so I'm out. I want to totally minimize bathroom awkwardness. Yeah. And so what I'm going to do to minimize bathroom awkwardness is I'm going to drink as little as possible all day. And so the feeling is one of complete elation and like absolutely desperate thirst. Yes. I do think a lot of my trans brethren, like, we're just too. Okay, like our context is, we are being killed. You know, we are being assaulted. We are being murdered daily. That's our context. Yes. We need safe spaces, okay? At the same time, so I'm never going to go against one of my trans brethren, like, but at the same time, I think it's reasonable to say that some of my trans brethren are too insistent on sharing women's only spaces. Like,
so they're too far the
other way. We're too strident. We're too strident. We don't negotiate. We don't use patience. We don't, we don't use the feminine qualities that we say we embody.
Yes, yeah.
I think that leads to, and also like I am not a trans woman in order to scare cis women. That would just be so pointless. Yeah. Like, it would just be so freaking pointless.
No, you are, because that's how you are in your body. You are a female.
And I kind of think that, you know, when TERFs and cis women like argue for the preservation of women's only spaces for cis women, I see their context too. Yeah. Like the reason they're asking for that is because it's because the manosphere has shat on women for millennia. Yes. Yeah. You know, absolutely. And we've only at this point in our history got to the point where we have these safe spaces, and now, like they don't want to let go of them. Yeah. And it's not for me to kind of swan in there, like those. Waving my handbag around my head, going, freaking let me in, girl. Yeah, yeah. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I do.
I don't want to sound like...
Yeah, it's a really hard ground to navigate. Really You're helping me really understand.
But it's a very nuanced situation. It's a very nuanced situation, and I think it's like me and my Catholicism, because you know. The Catholic Church is actually really down on trans people, but I have to try and make a space within that. You know, I have to make a space within. My parish is Discovery Bay, and I've sat there while the parish priest has ranted, preached pure bile against transgender people. I've sat there
while
listening
you're
to him,
sitting there.
while I'm sitting there. So so some Catholics allow it, some don't. There's obviously there's a real MAGA element to modern Catholicism.
Yeah.
Like a lot of the modern Catholic influences are all really kind of MAGA people. They're all like American. They're very like J.D. Vance is an investor in Hallow, which is the #1 Catholic prayer app. Okay. So all of a sudden Catholicism has become very, very right wing, quite toxic, quite Republican, all of that kind of shit. So I don't know. I guess it behoves us who are LGBT, and we have made the decision because I've tried being a Protestant. I've tried.
Well, I think good for you for sticking with what you are. Yeah, which is fair enough, isn't it?
I spent a year doing it. I spent a year thinking, I can be a Protestant. Yeah. That's cool. Because Protestants are so inclusive. Yeah. And it's amazing. Yeah, It's actually amazing.
It would be an easier path to take.
It's so much easier path to take.
But I think you're trying to change things a little bit,
it would be easier for me to be a man.
Yes.
It's actually easy to be a man. It's easy to just go around like in my joggers and like in my beanie and just like not but I can't I mean,
and I think nor should you
so I mean I've done it I've done it but it's I can't not give expression to that part of myself.
No, I think good on you for going back to the Catholic Church, for staying within the church and forcing them a little bit to change their views, and hopefully in a slow, as you say, sort of passive feminine way, say, well, there is something.
I don't want to be naive about it, because obviously there's the weight of a good deal of reactionary opinion. Like I am under no illusions. But at the same time, I have the right to receive the sacraments. Yeah, and I'm going to receive them. Goddamn, if that's not a contradiction in terms.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. You're an individual. You're a person.
I'm going to receive them, and no transphobic priest is going to get in my way.
Yeah, you're working in Macao as a journalist.
Right. So I'm
going. How long have you been doing that?
I'm a journalist, editor.
What is
the
modern
term is content creator.
Okay.
I'm currently the managing editor of Macao News. We are the main English language digital platform for Macao. Okay. It's a job I love. Good. It's a city I love. Yes. I mean, I've always loved Macao. Yeah. Since I went there as a 5-year-old on the old slow ferries. I've always loved the place, right? The whiskey priest and the sleeping dog. I mean, I love, so it's really nice to just kind of monetize that love. Yeah. And Macao is such a fascinating place. Like it's an even smaller town than Hong Kong, but it's the world's gambling capital. Yeah. And so
got there very quickly, didn't it?
Weird shit goes down there.
I bet.
It's a very intense sort of place. Yeah. There's a lot of money moving through there. Not only through the casinos, but through the financial markets now. Yeah. Like the bond market in Macau has now outgrown the value of the casino sector for the first time. Yeah. So it's a city in the throes of change as well. It's really thinking hard about where it wants to go.
I don't know how it operates really.
Do you know what I mean? So I love having that connection with Macau. I love its history. It's like, it's a way of, I mean, I love the architecture. I love Macanese culture.
Yeah, Macanese culture I get, and the architecture I like.
Yeah.
And I watched a film recently.
The Edward Berger film?
Farrell.
The Edward Berger film.
Yeah. Brilliant.
Did you like it?
I loved it. Absolutely loved it.
I loved the cinematography. The bit where I stopped it was when he comes downstairs and it's a Hong Kong taxi.
Yeah, that's right.
You jerk.
Yeah, no.
You could have just filmed that scene in the street in Macau. Yeah. Like, why did you...
I know. And then the taxis do change to Macau
and
taxis.
I was so disappointed.
And then they film over here, Lama and everything.
I know, I was so disappointed.
That's funny, I picked up on that straight away. Yeah. And I thought, what are you doing? How come?
No, but Farrell is amazing.
It started making me question, can our taxis go over the bridge?
Well, they should be able to. I have no idea why there's a hard border.
No.
Do you know what I mean? I think if that's one thing that feels really weird when I go there, is that why is there a hard border? Why can't we just move between Chinese cities?
Yeah.
But I mean, it's
well,
legacy
maybe
of
at some
colonialism,
point.
isn't it? I mean, so
Yeah. So what do? You go over there on the bus every day? Do you? Or
no, no, because the bus drops you in. Because the bus station over there is in the sticks.
Yeah. And
you know what I mean?
Reliant on taxis and stuff.
I just get a ferry.
Yeah. Okay.
Because then
ferry every day.
No, I don't commute every day.
Okay. All right. It's one of those jobs, isn't it? Yeah, you can basically work from home. Yeah. I think that just remains for me to say, Aidyn, thank you very much.
Thanks,
Aidyn
Gary.
Fitzpatrick for coming here today and
such a pleasure.
opening up, I feel, a bit.
Such a pleasure. Thank you so much.
Yeah,
for having me, Gary. I really enjoyed it. Thank you.
All right. Cheers. You can listen to all our VIBErations podcasts published on Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Podbean, and Amazon Music, and a whole host of others. Or you can watch on our YouTube channel under Live at VIBEHK, or follow the links from my website at vibehk.com. The opening and closing music comes from Celestial and is called Green Island Dub and is on the Retrospect vinyl album, on sale at Vibe. Finally, a reminder that Vibe is open 6 days a week from Tuesday to Sunday, 12 noon until approximately 6:30 p.m. Thanks for listening to the 56th Vibe Book and Music Shop podcast called VIBErations. I'm Gary Brightman. You get my vibe?
Can you imagine what this old island must have looked like to those Dutch sailors when they first saw it? Fresh green. Like a dream of a new world.
They must have held their breath. Afraid it would disappear before they could touch it.